I'm Wayne Smith. This is
Lee Grabham. I was hoping for a more emphatic response from our live audience. Thank you.
So Lee's preempted it a little bit, but welcome to our live audience and welcome to our subscribers at home. So we're back in our rear beer garden at the tap room. If you recognise the, well, you can't see the wall because we've got something behind us. We're having a long celebration this week for Yorkshire Day, which was the 1st of August. And
Yorkshire Week.
Yorkshire Week, as we like to call it.
Yorkshire.
So yeah, we've got a. You know, it's nice to be back in the tap room. It's nice to have a few beers here and sit outside while the rain stopped. We had a few heavy downpours earlier, and thankfully we've got a bit of a dry patch now.
First time it's rained in about 2 months. It's the day we decided to do this outside.
So we've got an exciting new venue to do one of the live tastings from. Probably not next month because that is an exciting venue we'll talk about later. But we've also got hopefully our new tasting room at the beer hall, which will be open by the time next 2 months. No pressure on Tony, Lee's uncle, who does a lot of our building works. And yeah, we've got no guests with us this time. It's just the two of us, which is something that we're disappointed a little bit because we'd like to have chatted to Overtone Brewery, who we were due to brew with next week. But it's also quite exciting because we like to talk a lot ourselves, so we don't want to give the limelight to anyone else. So.
I love the honesty there.
But no, we're in Sweden next week for another beer festival, which is when our collaboration with Overtone is. So we had to defer them as being a visitor, but we're still doing the collab. They're still coming down. And if you're in the tap room next weekend on Friday, the guys will be down here with our brewing team. You can say hello to them if you spot them.
And they're doing a tap takeover, so we will have a selection of their beer up in the beer hall.
Yeah, we've got 4 of their beers coming on next week. They're usually pretty strong, pretty flavourful beers, mainly Imperial IPAs, and they do some great stouts as well. So try their beers if you see them. Speaking of beer, get one of your beers out of the fridge. We've got a Tiramoosu Tonkoko in the tasting tonight. So if you haven't already, you take that out of the fridge, let it warm up. It's going to taste much better later on when it's warm. And how good were we at getting the boxes out on time? It's been so long since we got back on the track of the first day of the month. We had all the beers ready. Let's get them packed and shipped. Production team, really good job getting all the beers ready for you guys. We had one that was borderline, but they came in early on Monday, got them ready to go. The web shop team got them all picked and shipped, and for once DHL turned up on time and took them all. So hopefully, even though we're doing the tasting on a relatively early day, you got your beers in plenty of time.
Yeah, so I write the prompts for this, and usually we have this point. Apologise for shipping delay because of. But for once, we've been able to write box shipped in good time this month. So there we go.
Yeah, hopefully the first of many months. So we've got new process in place, and we're going to aim to get the box out as close to the first of the month as possible every month, and then we're going to try and do the tasting with reasonable time for the box to ship and land and do the tasting. So next month is the 12th, is that right? I'll have to just check my diary. It is
while you're working that out.
9th, yeah, so 9th of September, which happens to be the same date as a festival, which we'll talk about later on.
We're coming on to that one later. So yeah, we understand how it works. Your box comes early in the month. You don't sit on all that fantastic beer. You want to get straight into it. So yeah, we're going to try and do this earlier if we can, so you can delve in without having to wait. So this month, as always, we've got 4 beers for you. We're starting out with the one that Wayne's just opening to my right here, Yorkshire Bath. The beer we brewed last month with Roosters. It's Strata hopped pale. We're then following that up with a beer we made called Haze, which was named after the festival that we appeared at in Finland a couple of weeks ago. Is it now?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So yeah, 5.1% Belmer Simcoe hopped pale. Then we're following that up with a 5.5% beer called The Floor is Guava, which is a guava, coconut and Sabro hopped pale. And then, as Wayne's already said, we're concluding this month with Tiramoosu Tonkoko, which is the latest latest iteration in the Tonkoko series, and if I may be so modest to say, one of the best yet. So this obviously is a take on tiramisu. So we've got lots of coffee in here, and we've amplified the chocolate elements of this beer. So beyond those 4, we think once again we've put together a really strong box. You've got a bit of a Guava feature in there. So I think in your magazine this month it says that we brew now on behalf of Guava, who are a Hong Kong based brewery. So that's amazing that an international brewery has put their trust in us to do their production in the UK. So we brought some samples of that to you. You've got a lager there, a tropical lager. You've got a tropical sour. And then you've got a collab, which is Toast, which is one of our birthday beers. A beer we made with coconut and pandan and coffee. And you've also got a second Yorkshire beer. So this beer is Yorkshire based. There's a second one called Yorkshire Parky, designed to taste like a parkin. And you've only got the one core beer in the box this month, that being Haze of Thunder. So it's always a good month when we've managed to reduce the amount of core beer that you're exposed to, trying to give you as much original stuff as we can. So as we sample each of these 4 beers today, we're going to be doing the same old thing as we always do. We're going to talk about the name, the concept, the recipe, anything that's specific and unique about the way in which we produced it, etc. And what is going to make this better for us and for yourselves is to make this as interactive as we possibly can. So we need your questions, guys. So in the audience, I believe you'll either have paper and pens or you'll be putting your hand up. And anyone going to tell me which? Both. Right, you have the option of doing both. So stick your hand up or hand your bit of paper once you bring your question to our beautiful assistant Ant, who will collect that and pass that forward at the appropriate moment. If you are watching online, you have the ability to post your questions directly below this video. We have somebody watching the feed. They'll capture and censor as appropriate your questions and pass them forward.
And if you're watching not on demand, if you're watching this on the recorded stream, please don't vote. We're not going to win. This isn't. I think it's Love Island, isn't it? We're a great couple, but I don't think we're going to win it.
I would not watch such a trashy thing, but
but if you do have any questions and you're watching on catch up, post a message underneath the video. We look at the messages and we'll respond to those. So plenty of ways to contact us.
And as we drink each beer, we'll also pick up a specialist subject. So we always start out by talking about our highlights of the last month, and then we conclude at the end by talking about what's going to be happening in the next month in terms of the beers you can expect to see and where you're going to find us on the road. In between, we're going to be talking also about an upcoming subscriber survey even. Jeez, I need to put my teeth into there. So yeah, we're going to be doing a survey, more on that coming soon. And I think we're going to be giving you a little more detail on some of our travels. So if you have any further feedback, either now or at the end of this session, or you have questions that don't get answered through this, you can contact us at info@brewyork.co.uk. So now on to our first
Lee
beer.
at brewyork.co.uk.
No, Brew. No, info. info@brewyork.co.uk.
So moving on to the first beer, which I poured earlier, which I've started to drink from, Yorkshire Battle Cry. So given what's going on in the world at the moment, we didn't want to call it Yorkshire War Cry. We wanted to tone it down a little bit. But in reality, it's about how much. The tongue-in-cheek reference to how tight we Yorkshiremen are. And it was a bit of a play because we were working with one of our favourite breweries, Roosters, guys up the road in formerly Knaresborough, but now in Harrogate. We've known the guys for quite a few years now, and we love what they do, especially in the cask beer scene. But they do some great beers in keg and can as well. So last month, all came to join us for a beer and a brew, and we brewed this beer. So we tried to play to the strength of the Yorkshireman and keep the beer as low cost as we could. We've gone relatively simple on the hopping. We've used a hop called Strata. And then we've saved a lot of money because the Roosters guys kindly gave us the yeast to use for the beer. So if you've ever tried a Roosters cask beer, you'll know it's got quite a distinctive flavour. That's because the specific yeast strain that they've propagated in-house, they grow and they culture and they use every time they brew a beer. So it's actually free to make once you can maintain a yeast culture like that. You basically, every time you brew, you generate yeast. So for those guys to donate the yeast to us is really generous. Used it for this beer. It saved us a fair bit of money, which means we could make the cost of that beer more affordable. So it's for a change.
Tell why you smile?
I know, for a change, we managed to brew a relatively cheap beer. For the away leg, when we go brew back with those guys, we're going to put them out of their comfort zone a little bit, and we're going to put loads of adjuncts into their beers. So adjunct is the different additives we tend to use outside of the hops, yeast, water and malt. So stuff like cacao nibs maybe, or some tropical fruit flavours. Or
almost certainly some lactose.
Yeah, so we'll push those guys to the limit and see what we can do on their site. But it's really, I tried it on cask before we started the live stream, and it genuinely reminded me of a Roosters beer, which is what we were aiming for. It's nice, subtly hopped, really easy drinking. It's 4.5%, so maybe a little bit stronger than some of the Roosters beers that go out on cask. We've also got a few other hops in there, so Columbus and Centennial and Chinook, but it was all about the Strata in particular on this beer, so we're getting a few different flavours from the Strata hop. So quite tropical and
it's nice to use it in a more delicate manner. It's all too easy to just cram the hops in there and see what it does, but hops are going to present differently depending on the quantity in which they use them. So I think it's more of an art really to use them in a smaller quantity and still to get a decent amount of flavour coming through, which is what Roosters do an extremely good job of, and I'd like to hope that we've done in this slight imitation of what they would do.
So if you haven't tried it on cask yet, so hopefully you're trying it at home now during the live stream. You might not have the cans to join us with the session, but if you see it out in the venues, it's going to be cask, because we didn't keg this beer for a change, which is relatively rare, because once we've spent the time carbonating a beer for a can, we've got that beer in that specific format, and it can go straight into keg at the same time. But we decided to focus the volume on cask, because this was the style we're trying to go for, and then do a little bit of can on the side. So if you see this beer outside of the tasting, it's likely to be on cask. And if you want to try it, you probably best try it the next week or two, because it's sold out rapidly. I think we've got a few more casks of it left for our own venues. So the sales were really good. So you'll be able to try it on can like you've got now. But if you want to try it in the natural form that we were intended for this beer, try it in cask in probably a few different venues in and around Yorkshire.
And like Wayne's already said, it is on the bar in there, so for those of you in our audience, you can go and experience it in both formats and do your own comparisons. But don't rush off yet, we have a few more things to do.
So one of the big benefits for me of this beer on cask over the canned version is that because it's going to be slightly warmer, because the cask serving temperature is slightly warmer, you'll get a few more of the hop flavours coming through. You'll taste a little bit more than you normally would. Part of the reason we always tell you to take your dark beers out of the fridge early is to get those flavours coming through. So the same applies to this beer. And then also the body tastes slightly different, and that's just because of the way the carbonation works. On a kegged beer or a canned beer, we're forcing the carbon dioxide into the beer, so you've got much more volume of carbonation. Got the words out? You've got a highly carbonated beer when it's in can or keg.
And that dissolved CO2 is acidic, so it changes the pH of the beer, and in doing so also changes the flavour profile of the beer. So cask, for many reasons, is always going to taste different to a keg version. And then the cask version as well, we stop the fermentation before it's finished. So we stop the yeast working, converting all the sugars. We then package it into a cask, into a sealed container, and we let the yeast wake up and continue fermenting and generate the natural carbonation you taste in a cask product. So it's much lighter in carbonation and much warmer in serving temperature. So very, very different side-by-side taste profiles. But one of the things that's consistent, which I'm really pleased to see, is that because of the yeast strain we've used, the Roosters yeast, it's got amazing lacing, even on a canned beer. And you can't see it on camera. I could lift it up and show you, but it probably won't make sense. I've got perfect lines.
But when I say lacing,
sort of
there's these lines. Every time I take a mouthful, the line settles and the beer goes down. I take another mouthful, get another line, it settles. And lacing is typically something you see very, a lot in cask beer. You don't see it very often in keg and canned beer. So really pleased with how that's turned out.
The other thing I really like about this beer? Do you remember this thing called really clear beer?
Back to the.
It's nice to see this again, isn't it?
Yeah, we should put it in the.
Rather than all this hazy stuff we drink these days.
Here's my side pint today, which is Sim City.
Yes.
Tastes awesome. Yours is Juice Forsyth, and look how clear and
Clear on cask.
traditional.
Clear on cask has been suggested in the room.
Having a tap.
I'm not sure you can get much clearer than that, but I'll take your word for that one.
So I'm really pleased with that, and it's just really nice, easy drinking beer. So quite what we've tried to do a lot of this year is put some different pale beer out there that's quite different to what we've done in previous years. Try to explore the different range of styles that people like to drink at the moment, and try to also revisit some styles that we think people should drink more of. We're big advocates of West Coast IPAs and West Coast Pales. I'm also a big advocate of really easy drinking pale beer, and this is, Roosters do great examples of that, so hopefully we've replicated something of what those guys do.
Sometimes it can't only just be about what's going to sell really well. So obviously a low ABV pale that you're going to put in cask is going to sell well, and your hazy pales are really going to sell well. But sometimes we just have to make what is true to us and the things that we are going to go into the pub and drink. And coming out of the pandemic, the thing I wanted the most was that type of beer in cask. And the second the pub's opened again, I went to the Black Horse and I ordered a pint of Yankee. And then about 5 minutes later, I said, I'll have another pint of that, please. That was rather nice.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be able to go to pubs and drink the type of beers we like to drink again now. It's crazy when you think back only a couple of years how we were all locked up in our houses and drinking. Well, thankfully you guys, most of us who are joining us on the video have probably been drinking alongside us since then. So it's crazy how time has passed. But yeah, we've got a lot more variety and options are open to us now, and going out to the pub and drinking socially amongst other people and having a live audience is great, because we can talk to you guys in person as well as respond to the questions. So it's amazing how things have changed.
So the next section is about our highlights of the month, which means we actually have a little bit more to talk about these days because we are allowed out, so we can tell you about some of the things we've been doing.
Maybe too much sometimes.
So personally, so we always do what's good personally, what's good work-wise. So personally for me, you may notice my sleeve is now complete, so this has been a major project for me. I've had over 40 hours of tattoo work done in 6 different sessions on this arm to confirm my obsession with slipknots. So really pleased with the work that Rich has done. Comment from Emma, lovely sleeve. Thank you very much.
He hasn't got sleeves, what are you talking about?
So yeah, Rich, fired up studio across in Harrogate, amazing work, can highly recommend him. I'm going to be a little bit cheeky. I want a second personal highlight. I thought the women's Euros victory was absolutely astounding, and do you know what I found really, really refreshing? They were human, they showed passion. When we look at the men's game and how they are, they're like robots. They've just been knocked out in the semi-final, like, yeah, well, we know we should have played better. Just show some goddamn passion for it. And the way that these women, they had absolutely no inhibition whatsoever. They won, they ran off with the microphone, they stormed the press conference, absolutely amazing. Why can't the men's game be like that?
Yeah, well, brilliant.
So personally for you, what would you like to do?
And it sounds like a really funny thing to say, but we travelled a lot this month. So a lot of people think that we've had a lot of holidays. We haven't. We've been working really hard, and it sounds funny to say that when we're sat at a beer festival amongst amazing breweries in Finland. But it is work, and and as much as I love doing it, there hasn't been much time back at home, which is a shame because great weather, you don't get to enjoy it as much. But one of the perks before all our travel kicked off as we got to launch the Hanley tap up in Osbaldwick, and
pretty much a month ago.
Yeah, and Sal, who's in the audience behind me, behind you, and my family managed to come down to join us for the taproom launch, which is great because we've been pretty busy, so it's nice to actually spend a bit of time. Although it kind of was work, but it was more personal than work, so that was fun.
Cool. And then professionally, you can go first. What would you say your highlight was of the last month?
So we've had some, like I just said, lots of travels, but one of the really cool things was going across to Finland for the first time, and the beer we're going to drink shortly, Haze Wave, was named after the festival we poured at in Helsinki. It was just really, really cool to go to a new city like that, and actually to be able to do the main beer for the festival, and meet some awesome breweries, especially from America. We had some really, really cool American breweries we met. And just before we went on stream, I just got...
We'll touch on that later. We'll touch on that later. Yeah, let's not give all the secrets away.
So what about you, work-wise?
Work-wise...
Besides spending so much time with me.
My work wife, yes. So last weekend, so we've had 2 weekends away in a row. We did Finland the weekend before. That was there a weekend in between?
No. So last weekend what you were about to talk about.
It's all starting to blur into one. But anyway, last weekend we had 3 days down in Reading. And we did an event in the Nag's Head pub, which was a tap takeover versus Siren.
Yeah.
We then went and brewed with both Siren and Elusive, because they've got breweries across a yard from each other. So we just kept walking between the two with 2 brews underway.
And a beer in a hand.
And then on the Friday night, Andy at Elusive allowed us the honour of hosting a rare beer. So some of our barrel-aged beer and rarer beers, like the Final Chapter, we tasted with some of his regulars.
And some of our regulars who are joining us tonight.
Of course, yeah. And then on the Saturday, we went to Reading University, where Siren had put on a big festival called the Time Hops Festival, where they brewed 4 special beers celebrating the evolution of beer through the lens of 4 distinct hops. So Cascade, of course, launched the craft beer era through Sierra Nevada and so on, stepping through what the Alchemist did, what Vinny did at Rushton River and so forth. I know I could geek out about that for ages. But it was a beautiful festival, and we were amongst such amazing friends.
Yeah.
So Andy at Elusive, Sean, Darren over at Siren, amazing people. Honestly, the people in our industry, we are so lucky. So lucky.
Yeah.
There are not many knobheads. Unfortunately, it means the odd one that you find, they stand out like a sore thumb, but almost universally, everybody in our industry is an absolute delight to work with.
And we've done loads and loads of tap takeovers and meet the brewer events over the years, so we're always a little bit nervous when you turn up to a venue for the first time and what the hosts expect you or want you to do. So we like talking to people about beer, that's why we do this. But there's nothing worse than turning up at a venue where you're supposed to be doing a meet the brewer and nobody is there to even speak to you about beer or cares. You're kind of taking up their time. So we're always a little bit nervous about what to expect, but the Nag's Head in Reading, if you've not been, you should definitely go. Jody, who runs it, is an amazing guy. He's been big fans of ours. We didn't realise this, but he's been big fans of ours for years. He always buys our beer in from some of our wholesalers, so he's always got a permanent Brew York line, which we didn't know. So it's just really nice to go down there and meet someone like that who supported us for so long.
And for that night, they had 20 sif.
26?
Jeez, man.
His tongue's not in.
Yeah, I think I had 3 beers before we started this. I think it's already starting to show its effects. So they had 26 unique Siren and Brew York beers on their bar for that evening, and then some other beers as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, phenomenal beer range in that.
And it's quite nice for us to go to another event and we drink our own beer all the time. So to be able to go to an event like that and be able to drink other people's beer and lots of different variety at the same time as hosting and chatting to people and talking about our beer was great. So one of my favourite tap takeover or meet the brewer events we've done in a long time, and the whole weekend was just really, really good. For us to be able to spend a lot of time internationally at the moment doing event festivals, and to go to somewhere like Reading and have arguably a better time with, it's great for us. So it's,
yeah, it means a lot. It really does. When we're doing these tap takeovers, yeah, it's kind of a privilege. Yeah, we're kind of marketing what we do and so forth. But it really makes a difference when someone puts in the effort that kind of matches your passion. We've done some in the past, and I'm not going to name these specific places, but the worst one I ever did, I went to this one particular pub. They said, stand over there, talk to them if they talk to you. One person spoke to me all night. It was this man in his 70s. He approached me at the end of the night. He said, "All your beer's too bloody strong," and then left. And fantastic. I'm glad I gave up my evening for this.
yeah.
But other end of the scale, yeah, it really is quite something.
So we've got some. We kind of answered a couple of these. So how was your tour of my hometown in Reading? It's good. That's what it says. It's good, and yeah, we agree. It was very good. It was a really good place to visit. Second one, are there any real ale craft beer pubs in Reading you recommend? Nag's Head, yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, we only got to try the one, but it was a magnificent one, so go to that one.
Yeah, we've also done an event before in Reading at the Weather Station, which is Wild Weather Brewery's tap room. That's a really cool place. And I heard, but we didn't get to visit it, but Double Barreled have a tap room in Reading as well. Apparently it's really good.
Oh, and while we were there, part of Siren's big festival was they had their AGM, and they announced that they're going to be opening up a massive tap room near the station in central Reading. So one for the future.
I didn't hear that bit. Can Lee explain more about T90 hops and what are the benefits? No, he can't. That's from Gareth. He wants to know the T90 hops and the benefits.
So T90 hops, so this is a pelletized form of the hop. So they pressed the flour, mushed it all up, and then put it into a dye to create a little pellet-like shape that makes it look like a green rabbit dropping.
Yeah.
Dependent on the hop type, they come in slightly different sizes and shapes. And it's called T90 because it means 90% of the original vegetable matter is still present. You can get other ones called T45s. Can you guess what that might mean? 45% of the vegetable matter is still present.
So was the Terminator only 20% of steel?
Yeah, exactly. So the reason we might use these preferentially over leaf hops is they're kind of in a smaller format. They form this kind of liquidized pulp, so they're easier to flush out of stuff. Hop flowers float. You have to climb into vessels and dig them out. You get much more extraction out of a T90, by which I might mean flavour or aroma or the alpha acid bit, which creates the bitterness. They're just all around easier to work with. So our original brewery here, myself and Wayne, you wouldn't think it to look at the size of us, we had to climb inside our tiny little kettle with a bag and a big spade, and we'd have to dig out all the hops. And we then had it converted.
Maybe it's because we don't have to climb in there anymore, that we've got bigger.
One of many reasons, I'm sure. Yeah. We then had it adapted to be able to work with T90 hops, and what you now do at the end of the brew is you just flush some water through and it all goes down the drain. And it shaves an hour off your brew day. So in terms of just being nice to your people, it is a much easier way of producing it. Some people are quite purist about working with real hop cones, flowers. So like Sierra Nevada, the godfather of our industry, they'll only exclusively work with the flowers. But more often than not, I'd say at least 95% of the brewing world are working with T90 hops now because of the convenience it presents.
So we've got another question, which it's hard to answer because we don't know where Matt's from. But we got a question from Matt. Do you know any pubs that has Yankee on cask? Yeah. I know lots of pubs that have Yankee on cask.
Black Horse and Monk Bar, York.
Yeah, in York you've got the Rose and Crown on Lawrence Street. They always have a permanent Yankee line. Malton's got a permanent Roosters line. So
Paul always has a Roosters line. It won't necessarily be Yankee.
The Snickelways, they always have a permanent Yankee line. There's the
Rook and Gas. Well, I said Paul's place. Like you're gonna know who that is. The Rook and Gaskell always has a Roosters line on.
Yeah.
Blue Bar has
and then the Paul off what you were referring to was Phoenix and Black Horse, because he usually has a Yankee line, doesn't he?
Yeah, probably have one of the Phoenix as well.
Most pubs that serve cask ale in York will probably have a Roosters line, or at least have a Roosters guest appearance. But yeah, depending on where you live in the country, I'm sure we could provide you with a recommended pub. And if not, we'll get Tom and Al to send you it through.
Yeah, if you want to ping an info, Jesus, what am I doing? If you want to ping an email to info@brewyork.co.uk, we'll bounce that on to Tom across at Roosters, and he can tell you where to find his beer.
So,
cool. He's from Grimsby, he's coming to York tomorrow. Well, hopefully we've given you enough to work through there then. Right, so next beer up.
So while he's got his tongue twister going on, I'll let him drink that, and I'll give you the name of the beer while he's seeing it off. So we've already talked about the beer once. It's called Haze Wave. It's the beer we brewed. Well, I can't give too much away, even though we've already talked about it, because this is what Lee needs to tell you about. But on the artwork, it's pretty cool. It was the converted power station that the festival was held in. So a really, really cool space, really unique in an industrial yard in the middle of Helsinki. Really, really cool space as well when you go inside. It was a nice, really, really hot day, but nice, cool, open hall. But we then stood behind heat-generating big keg pouring machines.
Yeah, you said cool in one way. It was cool as in it was a nice place to pour the beer, but cool not so much in another way because we were in a former boiler room that was incredibly well insulated. Yeah. So whatever heat was being generated in that room was being returned in that room. Yeah. So we were like big drippy messes by then.
Yeah, the clothing we wore turned a darker shade of that clothing pretty quick.
Yeah, so this is named after the beer festival in Helsinki, organised by a pub and distribution company in Finland called Pien, P-I-E-N. So they did us the honour of allowing us to produce the official festival beer, which is this. So like Wayne says, we've got the artwork on there of the power station in which the festival took place. So what we wanted to do was to not do the obvious thing, to do the Citra thing, the Mosaic thing, the Simcoe thing. Well, we did use Simcoe actually. So I shot myself in the foot there. So we wanted to use some slightly less sexy, slightly less well-known hops. So we went with Belmer, which is a hop that came around a few years ago, and it's known to impart a kind of berry-like character into a beer. And then we used the trusty Simcoe alongside that, which can create a kind of stone fruity kind of character, but the other end of the scale can offer up a little bit of pine and kind of resin. So 2 excellent hops, and we used our kind of tried and tested grist grain recipe. That's a combination of oats and wheat and barley and rye in this. So it's a combination we've used in a number of our recent pails that's been getting some good feedback. So we're just playing around with the hop elements in these kind of beers now.
So one of the interesting things that, as a side note, that came up with this beer was Ant, who's loitering behind camera, discovered a thing that we've called candruff. So our textured finish on our can labels, it comes from a varnish that's applied after they're printed. And we had a bit of an error with one of the batches, and if you rub them, you get some varnish coming off, and it looked like the can had candruff. And
you know how they said don't draw people's attention to the
but the reason it's interesting was because we then did a small batch of 330ml cans without the lacquered finish. They're like a nice smooth finish, and I genuinely prefer them to the textured finish we have now. So I'm just interested in the people at home or the people in the audience. Let us know your feedback on whether you like the smooth gloss finish on a can or the textured finish, because if we can avoid.
The textured ones are going better in the stick book.
Oh yeah, easier to apply.
Yeah.
So we've just been told that the textured ones apply better into the sticker book. In fact, good point. While we were down in Reading, there was a gent that turned up, a very big fan of ours, and he had a book with almost everything we've ever released. So not the sticker book that we released that you could put them into. He had his own, and he had so much things I'd forgotten we'd even brewed in there.
It was brilliant because at one point during our talk, someone asked us a question. Lee was, "Oh yeah, we've done 2 of them," and he was like, "No, you've done 3 of them." And he corrected us partway through. It was brilliant. We did. So he knew more about our beer
Amazing
than we
to see
forgot.
that level of kind of passion, enthusiasm, fandom. Yeah, flattering.
So you forgot to mention that Haze Wave uses that shit malt that we talk about a bit.
You love saying that, don't you? CHIT, which Wayne has a habit of mispronouncing.
But yeah, it's hence we use it a lot in our hazy beers because it helps with that aspect of the beer.
Okay, so moving on. So next subject we have is upcoming subscriber surveys. So we've not done one of these in a while. So there's a couple of things that we want to test the water with you guys on. So one of them is our use of guests within this production. So we've heard some feedback that suggests that you might prefer it to be more us. We've heard others say
that's
you
Lee's mum, by the way.
you like guests, but maybe you don't want to see them all the time. So we want to get a survey out to you guys where we'll be asking you such things as, do you want no guests? Do you want guests all the time? Or do you want occasional guests? How do you want it to run? And while we're taking the opportunity to ask you that, we'll be asking you a few things about what you see in your box, how you would rather it was, and just testing your overall level of satisfaction with the box. So I don't have a date, but I think that'll be out within the next few weeks. Pete?
Yeah.
Pete, yeah. So that'll be out within the next few weeks?
Yeah, let's go with maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We're going with maybe on that.
Or guests in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So yeah, and also any other suggestions you guys might have. So let us know what you think you'd like to see more or less of. You want us to try something new. We want us to try new locations. We'll see what we can do to fit that in.
But as a forerunner to that, we thought it'd be interesting for you to start chipping in with some of your feedback now. So the question we really want answering tonight, or starting to answer tonight, is our use of guests within the show. So get your feedback in below this video. Put your comments in. Do you want more, less, none? Elaborate a little bit more than that, because it's not going to make for good reading if I just read
You
none.
mean guest brewers and not guest audience.
Guest brewers, but not guest audience. Right.
Yeah, we're happy to have guests in the audience. We like that. But yeah, it doesn't have to be brewers, but just guests in general joining us on camera.
Yeah, and I guess as an extension, is there anyone in particular you would want to see as a guest if you're happy for us to continue with guests? Do you want other brewers? Do you want people who are like peers in the industry? Maybe someone like, I don't know, Melissa Cole, who is a big voice in our industry. Matt Curtis, those kind of
Or Rachel Orty.
Or Rachel Orty, our very own Rachel Orty, who you will get to see on camera in our next session. So for that one, you get a guest whether you like it or not.
So we've just got another little bit to do here. So we've been doing these talks for quite a while now, and we've got, hopefully a lot of you guys have joined us for a lot of those talks, and you all talk to each other as well outside of the chat on the Facebook group and other stuff. But some of you may or may not realise that there's a certain member of our audience who turned 50 today.
No, not today.
What? Oh, I've ruined
today.
it!
Oh. It's Tuesday.
So someone turns 50 on Tuesday.
When we said we're not having any guests tonight, we totally lied. Because Kerry, would you like to come on camera with us, please? So, Kerry,
So if
Kerry, along with Pete, are long-time subscribers. They've been watching us right since the start. This is their 4th in-person appearance. So, come on in.
you need to grab the box, Lee. So yeah, we wanted to wish you happy birthday, and also Lee's got something to present to you that he's about to sit on.
Is it this?
So you might recognise these boxes.
I like this. They're usually full
I'll
of
crouch it.
delicious
I've no idea if I'm on camera.
Thank
Of course,
you.
and,
Might not be better.
you've got to open it on camera though, because
Have you got something to add?
we've got
Mine nails will
to
not
kill
do
some
that.
time while Pete's trying to do something else off camera.
There you go.
Thank you. Oh,
So any ideas what it might be?
no.
I don't.
Beer? Oh, a card. I like that.
And,
oh my god!
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kerry. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my god! Well, I'm down in that now.
Cheers.
Right, and you have your candlesticks extinguished before we close the fire.
I'm moving the hair out the way.
I'll move that.
Thank you very much, everybody. I need help. I need help. Yay! Oh, thank
And
you.
back to this.
And you've
Back
got,
to this. Oh, oh my god, I've got tears.
and this, you've got to put it on because it's only just come out, so it might happen to be.
Oh, is that why it's in there? This is advertising.
So the new Brew York baseball cap, and we got some message about what your favourite beers were, and we
Oh my word.
might have dug some out of my secret stash cupboard. So
We've got a special.
so there's a Barrel Age Espresso Patronum.
Sorry, everybody.
Is that
Got
John
the Barrel Age
Biscotty?
John's
Yeah.
Biscotti. Oh my god. Right.
Unfortunately, there's nothing else in there. We're
Yeah,
about,
just
so.
stop digging in there now. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome,
You've
thank you.
absolutely made my night. Thank you. Can I open my can too?
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Pete. Well done. Both Pete's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Pete squared.
You're very
Right.
good fellow, mate. Pop this.
Just a bit.
So you can thank him or punch him later. Whatever you want.
Hopefully, it's not like some of
I think he
our.
wanted to get one over me because I obviously messaged you guys for when it was this early in July. January. That's it. My brain's gone. Oh wow.
So when we do birthday cards at work, Andy, our events manager, usually writes some horrible messages. So we didn't let him loose on it. He yeah.
Right. Shall I disappear now?
Happy birthday. This is yours, don't forget. So if it's your birthday coming up, message Pete and he will take care of it. Weddings, bar mitzvahs, yeah.
Yeah, apparently we also do weddings, bar mitzvahs, and divorces. Right. Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, not watching it.
So, got another one.
So,
Both along the same lines.
So, evening, folks. So this is another regular subscriber who was in the tap room earlier, but was not able to join us this evening. So next month is the 24th of the Drinking Outside the Box. So we've done this YouTube for, we think, 27, 28
28,
months.
yeah, 28th YouTube session, 24th
Well, this is
official
24,
subscriber month.
well, next month is 24 months, an entire 2 years of the subscription service. So what amazing stuff have you got in store for us early sign-ups?
So the 24th, formal 24th session for the Drinking Outside the Box subscribers, we've got a really cool competition coming up because where we're gonna film the next session. We were going to talk about later, but I think we should talk about it now. So on the date I mentioned earlier, which I've already forgotten, was it the 9th?
You said
The 9th of September
right, yeah.
is actually when Leeds International Beer Festival is on. And it's this year it's moved from the city centre to Kirkstall Abbey. So I was down there on yesterday to have a look around the site. It's amazing. Within the ruins of the Abbey, there's going to be a huge festival set up.
And am I right in thinking that's because the city hall in which it's usually held is undergoing some sort of refurb?
Yeah, so the full refurb at the moment. It's going to be refurbished for I think 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, they're doing a lot of work there. So they've had to move out, and the Abbey site is amazing. And we've been talking with the organisers, and they've kindly agreed to let us do our YouTube live session from a separate area within the site, so that's going to be pretty cool. And they've also kindly agreed to give us some tickets to give out as a competition to our subscribers, so you can come and join us live at the festival, enjoy the festival, and do the YouTube live session. So we don't know exactly how many numbers yet, but we'll launch the competition, let you guys all know. As for the prize or the reward for anyone who's been with us 2 years, I can't tell you too much about that one yet. We will tell you a little bit more later on, but we're going to obviously try and do our best to make it a big thing, because anyone else who's coming up to 2 years will want to stay and enjoy that reward as well when it comes through. So something to look forward to.
Things like these beer festivals, we've not made enough of the fact that we get given free tickets to these things. So a number of them we sponsor and so forth, and their way of saying thank you is to give us free tickets. So what we're going to start doing with us going forward is to offer them out to you guys, hopefully on a kind of, maybe it'll be a raffle type basis, maybe we do a little draw, or maybe you just tell us the reason that you think you deserve them.
Yeah, we've got to be a little bit selective, because what we don't want to do is just say to everybody, we'll put your name in a draw, because you might not want to go to London, or you might not want to go to Manchester, or wherever we're pouring. So we'll let you guys know where the ticket prize is for, and if you're interested, let us know, and we'll put you in a raffle, or we'll come up with a competition. So there'll be plenty more of those opportunities coming up, and first one being Leeds. Hopefully we've got at least one more event in the diary before the end of the year. We've got a couple of our fingers in a couple of pies.
York, surely?
York Beer Festival, yeah, of course. Come down for that.
Yeah, I mean, we almost never do anything in York, so you should come there.
So we've got one.
Right, so this one, we asked for your suggestions of guests, and someone has suggested that we have Keith Thomas as guest, and we collab and do a take on an ancient brew with him via Darwin Brewery.
Well, if it wasn't for COVID, we could have done that one that Sam Calzoni did at Flying Dog.
I read that first time, and I was like, and I've just worked out who this is. So Keith Thomas, I believe that should be Professor Keith Thomas, because he's the owner of Brew Lab up in Sunderland, and I was sat in his office a few weeks ago, and he has lots of text on ancient recipes. So yes, that is a good idea.
That's a big piece of cake.
That is a massive piece of cake. I'm going to keep mine for afterwards. Not going to be very conducive to trying to talk by the look of it.
So the reference I gave while Lou was answering that was about Sam Calzoni, one of the founders or the founder of Flying Dog in America. He did I want to say
Mesopotamian.
Yeah, brew replica where they chewed on corn grains and spat into a cup, and then they used that spit to ferment a beer. It was horrible, and that was
It's,
pre-COVID. Can you imagine doing that now?
You might have done it in school where you'd eat a bit of bread and they'd talk to you about an enzyme called an amylase that breaks down starches. So that's what they were doing there. They were using their own saliva as the first step to break down the starch that then made it fermentable. Or made the sugars in the form that yeast could then work with. And that's what mashing does when we introduce hot water to grain. It's about converting big sugar molecules into ones that are accessible to yeast.
That's a good cake.
And we're eating that.
We're well ahead.
2 months in a row you're eating on camera.
I know. We're well ahead of schedule as well. We've got plenty of time for questions. So if anyone in the audience wants to ask a question, or anyone at home,
How can they
fire
ask
them in.
questions? We've got the mouthful of
Everyone in the
cake.
audience is eating cake. I know.
Let them eat cake.
Yeah. So while everyone's eating cake, then let's talk about the Hanley Tap. So Hanley Tap's been open. This is the fourth weekend we've been open now, and really pleased with how it's going so far. I happen to live 10-minute walk from the brewery,
Well,
so
no wonder you're happy with it. Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. But then we've been away travelling, so I haven't got a chance to use it. So we're going to probably head down tomorrow for we've got York Pie Company in doing pie, mash and peas. So have a wander down, have some food, and then a couple of pints before bed. So nice. It's been going really well, and we're really pleased with how it's going. And what we want to do more of is listen to what the customers want. So anyone's got any recommended food vendors they'd like to see down there, please let us know. Send us recommendations. We'll contact them, see if they'll come up and do pop-ups.
And what
for us.
email's that to? See if you can do a better job.
To peter@brewyork.co.uk.
Thanks, Mike.
Or well, it's a bit obvious now. Like, if anyone's watching us knows, mine's a really complicated one. It's what do you reckon? so yeah, you use the info at mailbox though.
I reckon
please.
yours is people at. She'll kill me for that one. So that's our HR director's one. She is not going to thank me for that.
Mine is ant@brewyork.co.uk.
So let's test the water in the room though. So we've asked the question, what is your stance on us having guests? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you want some of it? Do you want a lot of it? What do we think? So we get a thumbs up. So we are liking the guests? Yeah? And the consensus online, Pete, is? Mixed. So perhaps we can get a few of those comments written down and we'll read some of them out. Yeah? Superb.
So we've done a couple of different things as well. So sometimes when we've had guests, we've done them from start to finish. Sometimes we brought them in for a small section of it, and sometimes I think you've got to just go with the flow and work out who. Some people are more natural on cameras than others, so we kind of might need to work out what would work best.
And we try and get a few beers in them before we go live. We try and ease them into it, but you never know how that's going to play. Would like to see a woman's brew on the show, Chris. Not one I'm familiar with, Chris. So if you could send a few more details through, we'll see what we can do.
I'm sure Rachel's probably familiar, and one of the guest slots next month at our tasting, because we're taking it on the road. Sorry, we didn't mention this earlier. We're doing it at Leeds, which is great, but we're at a festival, so we can't do the full 2 hours we'd normally do. So it's going to be a condensed 1 hour tasting, which might be good news for some of you, might be bad news. So the beers aren't hopefully going to be Imperial Stouts, but if Lee had his way, he was suggesting we did a 5 beer tasting next month. So we're like, no. so we'll do the 4 beers, and we'll try and get Rachel to do a little bit of a talk if we can squeeze it in. But if not, we'll do maybe a middle of the month update.
So I like this one. Has Lee seen Stranger Things season? It says 2. I think they mean 4.
Oh yeah, when he does the.
What does he think of the Metallica scene? Well, what do you think I think of the Metallica scene? Obviously, any Metallica reference is excellent.
Eddie.
Yeah, and I can't really say what happens to Eddie and why it might be significant without ruining it for any of you that have not actually seen it yet. But yeah, it's a lovely scene. It's worth watching.
Eddie Munson. Do you know he's English? The actor who plays it. Yeah, there's so many of the actors in Stranger Things are English. It's really funny, and they all
Like
do.
who else?
11, the main character, Millie Bobby Brown. She's English. Who else? Steve? No, Steve's not. The bad guy the guy who was in the last series. What's her name? The ginger girl. What's her name? her brother. He's English.
Oh, the one that comes back in this series briefly. Right, yeah.
And the villain. I can't tell you too much about the villain without spoiling it either, but he's English as well.
The one that's Vecna. Yeah. Right.
So lots of English actors. So it would be good to take the show on the road. Let's go to Vault City. So 100% we agree.
I'll bring the Rennies.
Yeah, we did this quite a bit last year because we were on the road quite a lot, like we are this year. One of the things that we probably need to do is get like a steady cam or something to to film ourselves when we're out in Sweden doing these talks. But yeah, we'll try and do more of this.
It's something we'd like to do a lot more of, but hopefully you've noticed the production values of this have gone up, and it might not always seem like it with the audio quality occasionally. I know we had our issues last month. We probably should have apologised for that up front actually. But it does mean that this is not a simple production anymore. This is a 4-man thing right now, sometimes 5-man thing to get doing. So that makes it harder to take on the road. But we should at least try 1, 2, 3 times a year to do that.
Definitely. So, are there any plans for more wrestling-themed beers? I'd love to see a Rock or NWA.
NWO, yes.
I said NWA. No, so NWO.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing. Well, actually, Matt, not being produced by us, but I haven't told you this yet, but September.
Spoiler alert.
September, I think it's late September. I'm hoping to go and join Neil over at Top Rope.
Oh, nice.
Because they brewed with us. We're going to go down there. We're going to brew with them, and they have an event coming up for their birthday. Where they're going to be showing, I think it's WrestleMania 7, which is the one where Undertaker makes his first appearance. So they're going to be doing a beer that is Undertaker inspired on their own.
Undertaker.
And then I'd said to him a while ago, we should do a beer called Pale Bearer. So given we've got the Undertaker already as part of this.
Can you do an impression, in case some people at home don't know who he is?
What? My Undertaker! Hold the urn like that. So yeah, we're going to go and brew Pale Bear with them, so then they'll have a nice set of 2 beers. I don't know what he's calling his Undertaker one. They'll have an Undertaker one, and we'll have the Pale Bear to accompany it, and then they'll be drunk while they screen WrestleMania 7 at their birthday party.
What? Sorry,
I've not heard of the soothsayer.
Yeah, the soothsayer.
Giant hop stacks.
Giant hop stacks. Like that, yeah. Okay. Extra task, guys. Get your wrestling inspired pun beers in, and let's see if you can inspire us to make another one. What beers will be pouring at LCBF? That is from Wendy.
We'll have to put that one to Peter and see if our events guys shared it with Peter yet.
Yeah, what have we got pouring at London?
Oh, you put me on the spot, guys. Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. Write it down for us, and then we'll announce it shortly.
So one of the recommendations for guests would be Johnny Garrett and Brad from the Craft Beer Channel. It would be amazing.
We met Johnny in Reading last week. First time we've met him. He was part of the festival was Johnny and the guys from Siren and a few others on stage talking about the concept of the time hop beers. So yeah, first time we met Johnny, really impressed with what he does, have been for years, but first time we personally met him. So we both said at that time, why on earth have we never done anything with him?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something we're going to try and make happen, definitely in the next year. Stupid, unrelated to anything question. Before the end of the tasting, come up with your Mexican wrestling names, the whole of the brewery team. Is that a question from the whole of the brewery team?
That was from.
Or you want me to come up with a Mexican wrestling name for the whole of the brewery team?
You all need to put your own, but inclusive, all of the breweries team, all of their own wrestling.
But Mexican ones? I can only think of Rey Mysterio. What else is there?
Eddie. Oh no, can't talk about him. Eddie Guerrero and.
Yeah, beer related.
Yeah.
Even easier.
I think maybe we just move on to the next bit.
Well, actually,
maybe.
before
Right.
you do another question because it's my turn to go to the toilet. Lee went before we started live stream, so Lee lost today, not me.
It doesn't count. It does not count.
I'll vouch for that.
The clock starts at 7 o'clock. Everybody knows that. Right, so the beers we are going to be pouring at London Craft Beer Festival are Lupul Iron, Arc Orange IPA, Juice Forsyth, this beer here, which is our fruited IPA, our best-selling beer, Haze Wave, which is the beer we've all just sampled together, Lemony Snippet, which is our lemon radler, 2.5%, Flora's Guava, which is the beer we're about to sample, Tiramoosu Tonkoko, the beer we're doing at the end of the session, Obi-Wan Cannoli, which is the cannoli flavoured stout we did a while back, which tastes like orange chocolate. And then Mallard Be Thy Name is the final one that we have at London. So if you're there, come and seek us out and see how many of them you can get through. So next beer we have up is the floor is Guava. So I have to confess the reference for this name completely lost on me. I don't have kids, but apparently there is a TV show out there that the kids watch called The Floor is Lava. And the idea of it is to leap from one thing to the other, pretending the floor is lava. And that's as much as I know about it. But we love the name. And in this instance, the beer style came first, not the name. We said we're going to make a guava coconut and guava pale. And this is one that we probably decided maybe as early as September, October, when we started looking at this year's plan, that we wanted to combine these three things into a beer. But it did take us the rest of the time in between to come up with the name. So guava is a fruit that we absolutely love putting in beer. But it's the first time we've ever put in a beer that's not at a low pH. So it's the first time we've not put it in a sour. And the reason I've always liked guava in a beer is it transforms in that lower pHs and becomes this incredibly juicy thing. So this is the first time we've put it in a pale beer. And then we wanted to combine it with coconut guava, real tropical. And then we thought, well, we still want it to have that element of of it still being a proper beer. So what hop could we bring in? Well, it had to be your nemesis, Sabro. Wayne absolutely hates Sabro. Sabro has this big coconut character going on. So it was a great hop to kind of bring into this to play alongside the coconut. So I've done a lot of your intro right now because you weren't here. So you can chip in now if you want.
So yeah, Sabro is just one of those hops that just doesn't really. I don't really like it when it's used too prominently in a beer. So you can do a blend. You can basically use other hops in the same beer, and you can get like a great result. But it's always been one of those things. As soon as I taste it, I'm like, yeah, I can taste Sabro. Whereas this one, I'm not tasting that as much. What I am tasting is the coconuts. We used, as Lee's just demonstrated there.
Oh wow!
We've managed to not quite centrifuge the beer as fully as we'd like, so we've got quite a chunky coconut infused beer.
So apologies to anyone who got a snow globe like mine.
So what's happened is when we did coconut infusions in the past, we've used our little Tonka vessel, which we call little, which is a vessel where we put all the coconut in there. We have a filter in the top and bottom, and we pump the beer through that, and then basically you get all the coconut flavour coming through, and then you're left with the coconut behind the beer in the tank. What's then happened is that it's caused us lots of problems because it's blocked the filters, we've lost lots of beer to it, so we changed our process and we started using our centrifuge to basically put the coconut into the fermenter while the beer's converting the sugar to alcohol. We've added the coconut into there, and then we've centrifuged it back out afterwards. We've had a bit of an issue with this beer, so it was one of the points on the prompt that we wanted to talk to people about. And if you've got to a position where you've got some chunks like he's got in his,
well, I don't think this is chunks in the sense of desiccated coconut. I think what has happened here is the coconut oil has been taken up into the beer, and then when the beer has cooled, the oil has then crystallized into like solid oil. So this is not going to be detrimental to your drinking experience. It's not going to cause you a problem here. Visually, I have to confess, not looking the best, so sorry about that one. But flavour-wise, it just goes to show how much coconut we put in here. I think the flavour's really, really coming through. I think the combination of flavours is great. Yeah, our QC perhaps could have been a little bit better on this one.
So one of the things that I heard Lee mention, but when I came in, was the reference to the Flores Guava, the Flores Lava, the TV series or the game that people played as a kid. I can remember playing the game, like not stepping on stuff. I don't remember the TV show, which a lot of the guys in the office seem to know. I think if you've got kids,
I thought it was more of a recent thing.
Yeah, I think if you've got toddlers or maybe someone, maybe you just watched kids' TV, you might know what it is. The bit that we really liked is when we put the information through to our branding guys and asked them to come up with a brief. I don't know. I've really no idea where the Komodo dragon came from. But I think they did the artwork and they said it was missing something a little bit, so they decided that they thought it felt on brand and the other stuff we'd done. The funniest thing that I like about it, which people hate me for telling you all this, was when he kept referencing the kimono dragon. And I was thinking of a dragon wearing one of those kimono dressing gowns. But you think of the Komodo, I think. They're two different things. But no, I love the artwork. I love how it came out. It's super vibrant. It stands out on the shelf. And that's kind of what the beer is. It's quite a standout beer. There's lots of different flavours coming through. And hopefully you appreciate the different flavours that come through from that beer. And for me to enjoy it, even though it's Sabro hopped, is a testament to the other things that are coming through. So, like I said, Sabro's can be a bit of a Marmite-y hop, a bit love-hate, but the coconut, I think, balances that out quite a lot. I've got some questions, I think. Or Ant's got some questions. Oh, sorry, these are them anyway. So, answering one of the questions from before in terms of London Craft Beer Festival, the lineup we've got a few core beers pouring, so we always tend to take a few core with us. We've got Lupulin and Juice Forsyth. We've got Haze Wave and Lemony Snippet. Has he already done it? So, is there going to be a barrel-aged Obi-Wan cannoli? So, interesting one. It's one that I'd like to do, but I think we'll probably do a new brew for that. It was we went relatively low ABV. We only went with 7.5%. So 7.5%. You're borderline on whether it's going to age well in the barrel or not. It's strong enough that it should pull through, but it's much more risky than something that's above 10%. So when we barrel age it, you're putting the beer in wood for a long time. There's a massive risk that the alcohol's not strong enough to fight off any bacteria that goes in there. So you could end up with a wild yeast infection, or it could end up with any sort of problem with the beer. So the stronger the alcohol, the more likely it is to survive a long stint in barrel. So Obi-Wan, 7.5%. We have done a few 7.5% barrel-aged beers, but we haven't kept them wood too long.
Orange, I think, is the only one that we've...
And that's very similar beer, so I think that could work well. But yeah, we didn't plan on it at the time, because when we brewed the beer at 7.5, we thought with the Star Wars theme at the time, it would sell well anyway.
But Wayne's absolutely right. With wood, you can't clean it properly. It's a real risk. So the only way you can have any surety is to put something in there that has a high level of alcohol in the first place. That would prevent any bacterial growth.
So we've got another one. How do you think the craft beer industry is doing in 2022? That's from It's Good. First time I got a question from It's Good earlier, I thought that was the answer. It's good.
That's a big, wide-ranging question. I would say mixed. Things are far from being back to normal when we think about the pub experience. We've got so many different things like working against us in terms of consumer confidence, the price rises we're seeing all over the place, the wars that are going on, people still not comfortable necessarily being out in big groups,
cost of
amongst
living,
crowds.
Cost of living right now. People don't want to spend money.
So yeah, we see sales going up and down, and that's both as us selling beer to pubs and as operating pubs. So it still continues to be somewhat unpredictable right now. If we look further afield, there are some big names in our industry in the US that have been swallowed up recently, and not swallowed up because they were like been pursued by the Budweisers of this world, swallowed up because they got in financial dire straits and they had to offer themselves up, and that's the only way that they could continue. So that for me presents a little bit of a concern, because obviously everything that happens in America sometime after comes here, and I hope that that's not me being the forebearer of bad news. But yeah, Jesus, I've really got down here.
Yeah,
Sorry, we're supposed to be happy here.
Yeah. Eat your cake.
Let's have another
Eat
bit.
your cake.
Right. Yeah.
So we got, given Lee covered my topic earlier, time for me to talk about the next topic then. Which, now I've got a mouthful of cake. It's just a little bit about us being on the road at the moment.
Maybe I should talk through this bit then.
So it's more about how these things happen. So we go to these festivals and events and stuff, and people just say to us, how do you even get invited to Helsinki to do something like this? And in general, the way these things work is we work on our relationships with exporters. So we try to sell our beer into another country. And when this is mainly Sam who works in our sales team, she spends a lot of time researching markets, finding out which countries buy craft beer, which breweries export out there already. There's a lot of groundwork in terms of trying to find these companies to deal with, and then once we deal with them, start selling to that country. And once things start going well, working out what we can do to increase our sales. So if that goes well, we get invited. Sometimes we get invited to pour at a festival. And generally what happens is that the importer buys our beer like they normally do. They buy our beer to sell in the country, and then they supply it to the festival, and then they invite us to the festival to promote effectively. So we go and cheerlead. We stand behind the bar, talk about the brewery, tell people a little about what we do.
At the end of the day, this guy in Finland, Erkki, he's taking a gamble on us. We're not known in Finland. So he's decided to import our beer into Finland. So then he needs someone to come along, and I think cheerleading's a good way of putting it. He needs someone to come along who's going to help spread the message, who's going to talk about the brand, and who better to do that than the two people that are going to be most passionate about it. So there's an in-joke in our business where, Lee and Wayne are off on holiday again. Mm-hmm. Well, if you think standing pouring beer for 12 hours consecutively is a holiday, then fair play, but it's hard work. You have to put the hours in, but that's what you have to do this to try and open up these new markets.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's not like we go do 4 days and every single one's painful. They're great. We get to meet amazing people. We get to spend a lot of time doing really cool stuff. But you do eventually think, oh God, I wish I was back at home. So yeah, we've got a tough life, honestly, drinking beer and traveling the world. But so I'm sure you all feel sorry for us. Yeah. But no, it is good. It's lots of fun. But yeah, it's certainly, I wouldn't describe it as a holiday, but would I stop doing them? No, I think they're great for the business. I think they're great for us. We get to see how our beer works in different markets, and then we get to try and adapt what we do to try and suit that market. So we typically ship the beer out on a pallet like normally when we're exporting there, and then the importer will choose what beers we're pouring at that festival based on what we've told them is available. So that's a bit of a challenge sometimes, especially when we go to a new market. So when we went to Oslo a few months back, we hadn't dawned on us that the restrictions on advertising of alcohol there are so strict. So we landed there, and we basically went to a couple of the venues that stock our beer, and there's just no alcohol advertising. Like in the UK now, you cannot advertise cigarettes
Can you imagine?
Tobacco.
No pump clips.
No
keg lenses.
So no bar runners.
Nothing that allows one beer to be distinguished from the next. So everything kind of like when saying with the cigarettes, completely bland packaging. Yeah. Exactly.
There'll
be a board that'll say brewery name, style, ABV, and then you're taking a punt. And then you're hoping, well, I've had one of their beers before, so I hope this next one's alright.
And the crazy thing is, so if we had Brew York tap room, and it was on Walmgate, and it wasn't part of the actual brewery where we produce it, we couldn't call it Brew York tap room. It'd have to be a name for a bar. We could do it on this venue because and we'd have to call it Brew York Brewery, and then probably something else with a restaurant tap room as well. So the only way you can call you can advertise the name of your brewery is if you were talking about the brewery. You can't say Brew York Market Tap in Pocklington. Wouldn't be able to call that. It'd just have to be called the Market Tap. So things like that where you can't advertise the brewery name. So Mikel, one of the biggest breweries in the world, have a venue it's called Henry and Sally's. Means nothing. It doesn't tie into the brewery, but that's what they have. They call it that
it's
because they can't call
really eye-opening. So like next week we're in Sweden, we're pouring at a festival where we've been warned in advance, you must not drink behind the bar. You are not allowed to be seen drinking behind the bar. There will be government inspectors there watching for this kind of thing. It's like, this is a whole other world.
So it's all the different way the rules work that we are not familiar with is eye-opening to us, but it also then influences what we do and what we send out there. So going across to Oslo ourselves, we talk to the bar owners and what sells well, what doesn't sell well, how do we promote our beer? And like, well, for us, your beer sells pretty well in keg, it doesn't sell very well in can, so we'd like your beer to be, I don't know, 10% cheaper in a can than it'll compare to the other imported beers. So that type of insight that we've never had before really works. And then the other bit is, how do you promote stuff? How do you get people's attention if you can't tell people what the beer is? So just subtle things like T-shirts and stuff like that. The bar team can't wear a brewery branded T-shirt, but you can certainly give them out. So other ways to promote your business. You find them when you go and visit the country. So there's lots in there for us. And we mentioned earlier, so we're back on our travels again next week. So flying into Copenhagen on Wednesday. So Helsingborg is where we're pouring out, which is in Sweden. But you can actually travel from Copenhagen to Helsingborg within an hour on the train. So it's really, really close.
So how's your brewing knowledge? Anyone name me a brewery in Copenhagen? Yeah, War Pigs. Well, also Heineken. But yeah, which one of those two do you think we might be brewing with?
I'd love it to be Heineken.
So we're going to be brewing with the War Pigs because we had the privilege of meeting Philip, the head brewer, when we were in Norway.
Yeah, in Oslo.
So we met him there, we got on well, we talked about mutual respect about what they're doing, what we do, their different beers. And then we're going to now go and brew at War Pigs, which War Pigs is a brewery and a pub that is renowned on an international scale. This place is incredible. It's in the former meatpacking district in Copenhagen, and you walk in there, and sorry for the squeamish amongst us, and it still looks like a slaughterhouse. They've done very little to convert the building, and they specialise in barbecue food, which of course we're not into. We're totally not going to enjoy any of that.
It's all work. It's no pleasure.
Actually, but we've been to War Pigs before because we did another festival in Copenhagen a few years ago, and we arrived at War Pigs 5 minutes after the kitchen shut. So we got to enjoy the nice smells.
Oh, it's horrendous.
So this time we're actually going to enjoy the food, and we're going to get to brew with Philip, and we're brewing a milkshake IPA.
Yeah, with fruited milkshake IPA, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they've got a vanilla convention randomly in their in the venue on the Thursday. The Friday. Thursday. So yeah, we're
brewing on
we're brewing the Thursday.
Wednesday,
and then we have to finish brewing at a relatively early time so they can have this vanilla convention. So we decided it made sense to tie it in. If we could brew a beer that had vanilla in it, and we could make some things to tie in, it would work. And then War Pigs are also coming to the beer festival with us the next day, which is in Helsingborg. So I'm guessing not many of you out there will know a brewery in Helsingborg unless you're really good on Swedish geography. I'm guessing Ant probably knows because he knows where we're going to. But there's a really cool brewery from Sweden called Brewski. So Brewski hold a festival called Brewskeville. And again, when we were in Oslo a few months back, their brewery bar was 3 or 4 down from us. And this is the best thing that we love about going to these festivals is that we get to meet some of the breweries and brewery owners that we've never had a chance to even try their beers, and then we find that we've got so much in common with them. So the guys from Brewski came down to try our beer, and we were like a bit apologetic because we had a really cool pale ale on, but it was a really cool pale ale that was maybe 4 months old, and we're pouring alongside some of the best like pale ale brewers in the world. and we're like, oh god, this beer's a bit old. And then we pulled it through our Linda machine, which is the festival special machines for pouring stuff. And I passed it to Lee. I was like, God, that tastes a bit cardboardy. Oh, I can't believe we're pouring this old beer. And then I pulled Tonkoko through the other line, and it was pale. I was like, oh shit, there's dirty beer in the lines, and I've just passed. We've both been drinking beer that's been in the lines for how many months? That's not our beer.
Who drank it?
Well, both of us.
I drank it.
I was going to say I drank it, that's why I said to you it's a bit cardboardy.
Yeah, it turns out we've been drinking beer that had been sat inside this machine for months.
Whatever the last festival before it was that they were pouring at.
They got cleaner.
No, but they did. So they cleaned everybody, all the festival bar lines, and then ours were delivered late, and they told us they were cleaned. Anyway, once we pulled it through, we realised we got a line clean done, and we pulled our beer through, and it was tasting great. It was Schooner Matata, if you remember that beer. What a wonderful phrase. So Schooner Matata was pouring, and the brewski guy came down, and when it was tasting good, once we pulled all the crap through the lines, and it was tasting and it was cleaned, and when we put it on, he came down and was like, oh, have you got anything low ABV and pale? We're like, oh yeah, try this. He's like, yes, he loved it.
And then he kept bringing all his mates across, and then we had one of our barrel-aged Empress things on later on, and then he tried that, and he was like over the moon over that, and then he was one of the most ratifying things and gratifying things even of doing this kind of thing is these are people who have been working in this industry so much longer than us, and they've done things that we can only ever dream of. And then they come to our bar and they drink our beer and they're impressed. And they go and get their friends who are other peers in our industry and they bring them to our bar to drink our beer. And we're like, wow.
So
and this is why these festivals are so great for us. This is why we do them. So this first one in Norway we did. Off the back of that, we're appearing at this festival in Sweden. We've got this brew going on in Copenhagen.
And then the follow up to that was then when we were in Finland, we met some amazing breweries, mainly American breweries, because they really like their imported American stuff. But we don't really see that many American breweries in the UK anymore, because the beer scene here is so good that why would you import beer and spend so much more on beer when you can get it locally great? So we got to meet loads of breweries who we haven't seen before. And we had so much in common. We brewed so many similar beers, and we've got a load of really cool potential collabs lined up that we'd like to then follow up on soon.
One is worthwhile talking about. There was a brewery there, which I must confess before this festival I've not heard of, called Hidden Springs. They're out of Miami, Florida. So I mean, it's going to be a nightmare if we have to.
Yeah, if we have to go to Florida to brew this beer.
I think people saying holiday, they might be justified in saying it next time.
Yeah.
So I forget his name, I'm sorry. But we met the guys from there, and every session, so 3 sessions this festival, they poured a Daft Pastry Sour on one, and they poured a Silly Stout on the other one. It's like, ooh, I might have a kindred spirit here. So yeah, we loved what they were doing. We brought them over, they drank our beer, and when Wayne was almost saying something earlier, he was saying that
Josh.
Literally just, is that you found it, right? Yeah. Literally just before we came on camera was Josh from Miami contacting us to say, can I have an email address so we can get this sorted?
So it was pretty cool because, like I said, there's breweries that we don't really see as much in the UK that we should, because they're doing great stuff. And it was just so nice that genuinely some of the best beers I had at the festival were from these guys who had a mutual respect for our beer, who kind of then felt like we could do something together in the future, which was really cool. And then the Brewskival thing. If you haven't already, go onto Brewskival's website and check out the breweries who are pouring, because this is where we feel humble. Like we were sat at a sat at a bar. We were pouring at our own bar at a festival in Oslo, and the guy who owns Brewski came up to us, tried our beers, loved it, and invited us to pour alongside these amazing breweries from throughout the world. I think 4 breweries from the UK who were pouring, and we were one of them. We're like, that's awesome. So to have our beer, in his opinion,
just to have your name in the conversation alongside some of these names is just like mind blowing. If you said 6 years ago, we'd be in the same room as some of these people. Like, yeah.
So what we decided at that festival was that we're going to stop being shy, and if there's a brewery we want to work with, let's not pussyfoot around. Let's go and speak to them and ask them. So we've started that ball rolling, and we've got a collaboration lined up towards the back end of this year with I think Lee might have mentioned it already on a previous stream with
Funky Fluid,
a brewery called Funky Fluid from Poland. They do amazing beers, and we tried them at the festival, and Lee sent them a message saying, can we brew? And then thankfully they tried our beers and wanted to brew with us. Same thing, we're going to, each of these festivals we go to, we're just going to go up to people and ask them, can we brew together? Try our beer, see if you...
To be honest, two things. I don't think we've been brave enough, a little bit too modest, I don't know, whatever it is. And chatting to Brian from Northern Monk when he came and brewed with us a couple of months ago, we said to him, how have you got to work with the likes of Other Half and all these other great... And he said, we asked.
Yeah.
That's the answer. They asked. He's like, we had the balls to actually ask them. So I was like, it's that simple? Okay, so that's what I now do. I'm going to ask everybody that I have on a pedestal, everyone that I think's amazing, and hopefully some of that lands, and we work with some of those guys next year.
Cool, we've got some more questions. I'll let Lego start.
Shout out to Judy and Craig Alderton watching this stream from
A
the hotel room in Derby, cooling beers in the sink. So no ice, you've just got the tap room.
But it works.
Literally, like, looks like a
And then you put the cold water on and you just let the cold water run over them until they're at the right temperature. Nice. So lesson learned from our travels recently: take a HDMI cable with you, because most hotel TVs now have the HDMI input, and you can connect your laptop up to it.
I'll get a bit soppy now off the back of that. So I once had to cool something in a hotel room. So I proposed to my wife in Ma Maison in London. We had breakfast. I then went out and I went and bought a bag of ice. I'd already got the champagne lined up, and she was like, "Why are you going shopping now? Don't worry about it. I'm just going shopping." And I went out and I got a bag of ice and I filled the sink full of ice, and then I put the bottle of Veuve Clicquot into the ice. And then she was like, "Why do you keep shutting the curtains?" It's like, because I don't want anybody watching me propose to you. So then I got down on one day and I proposed to my wife, and we ate, Jesus. I can't get my words right tonight.
How much was the bag of ice?
More than it should have been, because it was London. I was asked how much was the bag of ice, yeah. I got down on one knee and I proposed to my lovely, lovely wife.
She said no.
expensive bag of ice.
I suppose that did turn out eventually to be an expensive bag of ice, yes.
So another question, could you see Brew York being sold in the USA?
See, that's a tricky one. So we went on a trade envoy to slash holiday, because apparently that's what we call these things now, to Maine, which is East Coast, New York State, maybe
New England,
5 years ago. And it would not be an immediate target for us, because a lot of the beers that we produce would be considered to be American in style.
Oh, would have.
So it would be like attempting to sell ice to an Eskimo. But I think what Wayne's trying to say there is now we've gone a little bit more eclectic and we're doing these daft stouts and daft fruited beers and so forth. Perhaps we have a little bit more to offer now. But whilst we were doing the hoppy American hop thing originally, then it wouldn't have made a lot of sense.
So another one then, are there any plans for a taste test with subscribers? That's from Bill. Might need to elaborate, because some of the experimental stuff, but yeah, so we'd love to do more of that again, where we put a couple of different styles out there or different variants of a beer, and you guys give us your feedback and we'll see what we can do with it. There's nothing let's see what we can do to incorporate that again.
Yeah, it's a good challenge, Bill. We did say we'd do that a while back. We didn't stop it because we didn't like how it worked. We thought it worked great. It's just we have limited production capacity and we got distracted by doing other things. So yeah, we've got a incredible capacity here to get almost instantaneous feedback from you guys. So it's something we probably should do. Well, not probably. It's something we definitely should do more with. So yeah, we'll go away. We'll have a look at that and see what we can do in future months. You enjoying your cake there? I'll leave the next one.
I'll have my cake and I'll eat it.
Why are US breweries prominent in Italy but not UK brewers? Do you know? And that's from Stephen. Do you know what? I absolutely do not know the answer to that. I've not had a lot of time in Italy, so I cannot comment on that one.
So what we found we used to export a fair bit into Italy pre-COVID, and since markets have opened up again, the Italy market hasn't really opened up again for us. And I think the cost of moving the beer from the UK to Italy now has gone up, and it's probably comparable to moving beer from the US to Italy, which is crazy considering the distance. So I think the Italians are probably thinking, well, there's more choice in America. There's more breweries there. Let's focus our attention there. And yeah, I think that's possibly it.
It was already €7 a pint in 2018.
Yeah, well,
€7, 2018. We've just come back from Scandinavia. That's goddamn cheap. What were we? We were about £10 a pint in Finland, and that was cheaper than Norway.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That's why Ant's gone to Iceland. It's like a Kerry Katona advert.
Well, yeah, but by the end of the year, the only Scandinavian, and I know Scandinavia has various definitions, but I'm choosing to include Iceland within that. The only Scandinavian country we will not have been to is Iceland, and that puts the fear of God in me. I've heard people paying £90 a pint over there. In a nightclub, I know.
£25 for fish and chips.
£25 for fish and chips? Jesus. I mean, that doesn't work well with a Yorkshireman, does it?
How much?
How much? Right, next one. Ooh, I wonder where this came from. Not a question, but a request. Please, Brew York crew, come and visit the M&M, Moustache and Monocle in Grimsby for a tasting night. Kerry and Pete's private members bar in the garden. By the way, there's plenty of room. Say yes. Ant is God. Good? Good.
Peter will probably up for it because it's close to home for him as well. Just across the. How much do you have to pay on the bridge though?
Yes!
Time it with a tap takeover.
I don't know if we could do a full-on subscriber tasting event thing there, but I'd love to come and join you guys. So, yeah.
That's what Lee said that all the time. If it on camera, the comment was, honestly, it's bigger than what it looks.
It's bigger than right, yeah. Let's move on. Right, so we now have some suggestions. So, where would you like to see Wayne and Lee next? So, Get to Ireland, Kinnagar collab from Owen.
I'm glad you got that one.
Yeah, the alternative spelling of Owen. When I first saw that, I would not know how to pronounce that. Come to Sheffield, amazing breweries. There.
I love Sheffield.
Yeah. And Craig would like to see us in Southampton. Right, so
All of them done.
name these places, but let us know if we're going there, where we're going to be there, who we're going to be working with.
Yeah, so we need a brewery you would want us to collaborate with, a venue you'd want us to do a meet the brewer at, and then what else? A bottle shop that we can go and talk to the people about beers.
And a hotel you'd like to pay to stay.
So at this point, it's time for me to go to the toilet again. So 2-2 I think it is now.
Right, can we get the next beer in, please? And do we have any more questions? So, any more questions in the room?
Can you do Little Monsters?
Can we do Little Monsters? What is Little Monsters?
Big Monsters Brewing.
Monsters. Where are they based out of?
Sheffield.
Sheffield. Apologies. Oh,
Little Critters, I mean.
Little critter.
little. That's why I don't know it. Little
Yeah.
critters.
Yeah, Little Critters.
Yeah. Do you know the only contact we've had with Little Critters was in our early days. We released a beer that ultimately became Expander, which was a hop changing one, and we wanted to call that Chameleon because it would constantly morph and change. But Little Critters got in contact with us to say that they already did a beer called Chameleon. So they were very respectful. It was all very civil. Just to say, would you not do that because we were already doing that? So then we came up with Expander, as in ever expanding, ever changing. So yeah, Right. Do you know someone there? Or?
No.
Right, okay.
So how did you get away with Karma coming? Just by putting Karma on the front?
Yeah. Yeah. So by the time Karma Chameleon came around, we'd evolved from doing animal things to just being all about puns and retro references. So then, yeah, it made a lot more sense. So we have some wrestler puns. Is this just a collection from across everyone, or is this one person that's come up with all these?
It's a collaboration of many.
So we've got Rocky Road, as in the rock. Chundermaker. Jesus, I mean that's going to be really marketable as a beer, isn't it? Chundermaker. Oh, Hellas in a cell. Okay. Yeah, German lager style in a cell. Triple H. Yeah, we've already done that one, guys. The Hot Man Heart. Okay, like the Hitman Heart. Stone Fruit Steve Austin. I like that one. Closed out on a high. That is a good one. Although we are doing I mean, spoiler alert here.
Oh, that's you usually do it when I'm at the toilet.
No, but Simon from Real Ale Craft Beer and the guys from the bar in
Craft Republic.
Craft Republic. What were we going to do?
Brew Republic.
Oh, because his pub that he does some of his stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to do Stone Crow Steve Austin, aren't we? Is that right?
Yeah.
Stone Crow Steve Austin. So we are doing that one already.
So beer 4, Reese's with a spoon, apparently. Oh, beer 4, Tiramoosu, Tonkoko. We've got
Yeah,
two
that's
lines. We've got 2 lines on the prompt. That's
Oh dear.
so 7.5% for a change.
So this is timid for us.
So do you know what I'm guessing people at home probably know this. If you don't, then any thoughts why we might brew a lot of beers at 7.5% ABV? Tax, exactly. So as soon as you go above 7.5% ABV on in strength on a beer, you pay even more duty. So the tax we pay on our beer rockets. So you get you move into the high strength beer category, and it's intended to outprice beer to stop people drinking irresponsibly. What it really does is just it just means that people aren't going to drink these beers in a pint unless you're doing a live tasting.
But is it, just to give that some sort of context, if we made that 8.5% and it still tasted the exact same and felt the exact same, but we told you it's going to cost you about £1 more because we made it 8.5 instead of 7.5, would you pay it? Okay. I guess I phrased that really badly. You're supposed to say that's ridiculously. The taxman shouldn't get all that money.
Yeah, it was a Yorkshire, but
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ant at least.
Ant said that's ridiculously expensive. Oh, that should be a beer.
Oh dear.
You're right, but people will buy what they like.
Yeah, people will buy what they like, exactly. And
But this position changes next year and gets even worse. So most of you obviously operate outside of the industry. You won't be aware of the taxation changes that are about to come in. So next year they're going to make it even more expensive for you to drink high strength beer.
on the plus side, what's classed as a high strength beer is going to go up. So 7.5% is currently the upper limit. It's going to go up to 8.5%. So all of a sudden, you'll see a lot of beers from us at 8.5% and below. But one of the things that will really kill the industry, I think, is that your cans of high strength beer, 8.5% plus, will be expensive, but they won't be too bad. Your draft 8.5%, so buying it on keg or cask, is going to become so unaffordable that only the crazy people out there like us will probably do it, and we'll only do it once in a blue moon. You'll probably only see 8.5% plus beers on draft in our own venues, where we'll put a small volume in for you guys to come and try.
What we're probably going to have to do is going to have fridges in our venues,
So
and you'll buy the cans
and then share it
drink them
between
instead.
people. Because it's just ridiculous. If you were going to buy this beer and you could share it between three friends for the same price as you'd pay for like a taster for yourselves, why would you do that? So and that's to do with the the government's new proposal on. So the question from the audience was, does that mean you won't see anything 8.5% and above on cask or keg? You probably won't outside of a Brew York venue. You will from other breweries as well. They'll probably have their own. You probably won't see our beer outside of our own venues that strong, because I don't think we'll be able to convince landlords to pay.
I still think we'll do a limited bit here and there because it'll be a rare thing, and hopefully it'll make it more desirable. But it won't be an obvious thing that we'll do going forward. Because
is that set in stone now?
Yeah.
Well,
so we've just been asked off
kicks-
camera, is that set in stone? No, it's they've done consultation. It's down to be implemented from early next year.
1st of January.
And even when your government says it's in for consultation, it pretty much means the decision is made. It's very rare for something to come back from that point, but they're beyond that now anyway.
I just didn't know the final thing.
Well,
the secondary legislation.
Oh, it's true.
The jury's supposed to start.
Our trade body, SEBA, lobbied on our behalf to try and get this changed, and as per usual, it fell on completely deaf ears.
So enough of the sob story. We've tax is horrible for breweries, and we know that. Hopefully, you guys think 7.5%. If we can get this beer up to 8.5% next year, and you'll pay a similar price, hopefully you'll enjoy it even more. But for now, let's talk about this beer. So you love coffee, don't you?
I do in beer. I would not drink coffee. Absolutely, I would not drink coffee. But coffee in beer, when used in the right way, I really enjoy, as it is here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of coffee. Well, I'm not a big fan of coffee. I do drink coffee, but only real coffee. So, grew up drinking Nescafe and stuff like that every now and then. And instant coffee, just don't enjoy it at all. But once a day, once a week, or whatever, a nice cup of real coffee from exactly. Make it yourself with the tea cozy strainer thing, the cafetiere.
That's the word. Yeah.
Or or go to a proper barista and get a coffee. I really like. So we haven't used coffee too much in beer. So if you maybe if one of your favourite beers is barrel aged espresso Patronum, you might like coffee, and you might know that we do some coffee beers. And when we do them, I think we do them well. I think if you've got a taste where you don't enjoy coffee as much, you can be very selective about how it is used in your beer. So I guess that probably helps. Whereas some people who love coffee will probably go overboard with the coffee in the beer. So
I've evolved our approach to these styles of beers over time. So when you're making a dark beer, you're going to use some roasted grains, and some of them are going to impart a coffee-like character anyway. So if you're then going to put coffee into that beer, you're going to get this over amplification of coffee. So what I now do with this style of beer is I dial down the roasted grains that are going to contribute coffee, so then we can use the actual coffee to create that kind of character within the beer. So it doesn't kind of overcomplicate it, and you're not so much tasting the malt here, you are tasting the pure coffee in a beer like this.
So one of the things that when we first, still any unadulterated Tonkoko, so Tonkoko, Imperial Tonkoko, Empress Tonkoko, it is all about the natural ingredients. So it's coconut, Tonka, vanilla, and coconut.
Cacao.
Did I say coconut? Cacao.
I think cacao is the one
I missed. So it's all about those ingredients. So we've done quite a few variants on Tonkoko over the years, and as our brewing's evolved and the way that we approach beers evolved, we actually have started using some natural flavours. We've been open about on all the tastings we do, and even though this is a Tonkoko variant, we have used flavourings in this beer. So we've used real coffee to supplement the other flavours I've talked about. But one of the things we've done to boost this, we wanted a Tiramoosu flavour, so we needed that creamy flavour, and we've got lactose. We've got lactose in normal Tonkoko, but which one was it specifically?
No, the natural flavouring we used in this was one to elevate the chocolate.
Oh right, so we use a chocolate because I thought we'd use like a cafe creme or cream.
No, you're thinking we used a Dulce Delect thing in a previous beer.
Oh, that was in the Star Wars one.
Yeah, everyone can know, yeah.
So yeah, it's just to amplify the chocolate. So we've used cacao nibs for a long time in the brewery, and that gives you a great chocolate flavour. But more recently, we moved to something called Chocolate, which is a liquefied version of cacao nibs. Grabbing it with his hands and eating. So one of the a really great way of getting that cacao flavour, but more direct. And that supply in the UK has just ceased, so you can't get Chocolate anymore. So we bought as much as we could before it ran out. So now we've got to look at other ways to try and get that boosted chocolate flavour as well as
the one
those
supplier
sources.
that had it in the UK, we bought everything they had left, and now we've run out of that. So now we're back to using cacao nibs.
So another great thing of all these this travelling we're doing at the moment is talking to other breweries and finding their suppliers, because a lot of the stuff we import. So it doesn't matter which country they're from. If they have a good supply of a good ingredient, we can import it from wherever they get it from.
So we just had a question come through. How is the coffee added in the beer? Is it beans or ground or brewed coffee? So what we do is we take the whole beans and we have an infusion vessel, Wayne talked about it earlier, called Little Tonky, which is a perforated steel basket that we put the beans into, and we seal this basket, and then that sits in a bigger steel vessel, and then we put the beer from the vessel pushed in through the bottom, and then it goes and it infuses with this flavour, and then goes back into the vessel that the beer's in, and we circle like that, depending on the addition that we're using, for between sort of 2 and 48 hours. For something like coffee, quick absorption of flavour could be as little as 3 and 4 hours. So you really need to be on it and tasting it constantly. The flavour's going to uptake really quickly. For something like coconut, like we talked about earlier, done through this kind of vessel, 48 hours it could be to get the kind of level of absorption that we want.
A question from Dan: will this be barrel aged? Yes, but not this batch we brewed. So lots and lots of challenges came with this batch of beer. One that we we self-proclaimed it one of the best beers we've done this year. So I'm not saying it is the best beer, but we all loved it when we were tasting it in tank. So with that came challenges, which as soon as we said that, we knew we'd have wastage and packaging issues. So every stage of the process where you move beer from one vessel to the other, we seemed to lose beer. And what started off as a very big batch of beer soon became possibly one of the smallest batches of beer we ended up with, and it pretty much all sold out the week we launched it.
The problem is, when you have a beer that's known for having a lot of coconut in, and you want to go, how do we make that better? Well, let's put even more coconut in.
Yeah.
The problem is, getting the coconut back out is really difficult. And it means that a lot of the beer ends up lost. It gets either absorbed by the coconut itself, or it ends up going down the drain through the process by which we have to extract the coconut back out of the beer. So, to give you an idea, like if we had like 5,000 litres of a beer and we put this amount of coconut into it, where we are right now, we're maybe coming out with 3,000 litres of beer. Yeah.
And it's and that's unfortunately just becomes unsustainable, because we can't spread the ingredient cost over that such a small volume of beer. So we take it on the chin. We charge less for the beer than we probably should, and all of a sudden we sell a whole batch of beer. We don't make any money, and at least we're not losing money. But if we're not making any money, then it's harder to then keep doing those. So we've got to be really careful. We've got to refine our processes to get the most out of the beer again.
Well, that's one of the beauties of what we do. We constantly get to experiment. So we know the coconut creates great flavour, and I don't want to move from using real coconut to using something artificial. So we need to find the best way of continuing to use the real thing, but in a way where it doesn't make our life really goddamn difficult to use it. So we've been looking at Omnipollo, a brewery in Sweden, and they have a way of doing it, and that's what we're going to do next, which is using an infusion vessel like we do, but they use like muslin bags. So they put the ingredients in these muslin bags, and then they kind of suspend them in the infusion vessel. So then they can pull it out really easily. It's not absorbing too much. They can kind of squeeze them should they need to. So that's our next attempt in the evolution of what the Tonkoko series is.
And another reason why it's really important at the moment that we keep doing the travel that we're doing and talking to other breweries, because as much as we will be doing this more and more, so anyone from the breweries watching, you guys will get to go travel as much, if not more, than we do soon. We wanted to do this early days ourselves, to start talking to other breweries, to try and learn from them, because some of these things that we found from talking to the breweries and geeking out and grilling them wouldn't necessarily happen if the other members of the team go to the festivals and events.
Although credit where credit's due, it's head brewer Tom who drew the omnipolar approach to our attention.
So yeah, lots of things we gain from doing this stuff, and things our team will gain if they go and do it in absence of us. So I thought this was a trick question, but I think it's somebody doubting his favourite spelling ability. So it's crossed out a few times. I thought it was a trick question, but is Tonkoko your favourite beer?
I think I'm gonna have to narrow that question down. So, what's a better way of answering it? What's the favourite beer out of what we have made? And I would say Imperial Tonkoko, the forerunner to this one, is probably the best beer I think we've ever made in terms of balance of flavour and just getting that right, the sweet spot right between level of alcohol and just, yeah. I mean, we've done a lot of beers in this range, so we've been able to play around with a lot of things, but the absolute one that hits it for me is the non-coffee version of this, the Imperial Tonkoko.
Yeah, it's definitely my favourite. People ask about Tonkoko and they love the standard Tonkoko. I'm like, you've got to try Imperial Tonkoko. And then I remember we haven't actually brewed it this year, and it's not on the brew plan this year. It's just like, so sorry to disappoint.
We did do it, we just put some coffee in it.
Yeah, because of the variety of beers we brought out in the last 2 years, because of COVID and because of all the support and fun you guys have given us, some of the mainstays have maybe taken a bit more of a back seat. So Imperial Tonkoko for me needs to come back, and a few others. So
well,
again,
on that point, Legendary Pints has asked us, does this mean 8.5% Imperial Tonkoko?
hell yeah.
Kind of has to, doesn't it, really? Yeah.
So anyone?
Oh no, and as for that, I thought you were saying that. Like,
It's Legendary Pints.
okay, Legendary Pints is not the handle. Ant has just decided it's going to be Legendary. Okay, but yeah, absolutely. Things that we're currently doing at 7.5, many of them we will elevate to 8.5. We're not. Is 8.5 the limit, or is it 8?
Yeah.
8.5. Yeah.
So people at home and people in the audience, any past brews that we brewed regularly or you'd want to see back, again, let us know, and let's see what we can do to make that happen. What's this one? 9.5% it'd become quite expensive, but we could. Oh yes. So then use the 1% tolerance we've got. I've been talking to Ant too much.
Yeah, damn. I mean, we would obviously never do that kind of thing. So, I like this one. How about a public vote for a rebrew? And that's from Tony.
That's kind of like what I just said.
Yeah. So we are about to enter our 2023 annual planning process, where we look at what's worked, what's not worked, what we want to rebrew, and we've realised certain things, like bringing things back too soon is not a good thing. So we like to leave a little bit of a window. But that said, absolutely, we want to hear from you guys. What's been your favourite things of not just the last year, the last 2 or 3 years? Maybe it's something we did a couple of years ago that you've not seen again, that you want to see.
Viking DNA, shout from the audience.
Viking DNA, the very first beer we ever
100%, 100% we'll be coming back on cask soon.
Not been back in a while.
Yeah, bring back on cask soon.
I think let us get this subscriber survey out the way. We don't want to cloud things by having 2 surveys out at once. So we'll do the subscriber survey. We'll collect the feedback from that. We'll see how we want to shape what we're doing going forward. And then after that, we'll do a survey of if we are doing something we've done before again in 2023, for you, what would it be? Yeah? Okay.
So,
Sorry?
Phosphorus 5, our first ever collab.
Yeah, something with that. Right, so that will definitely happen. Thank you, Tony.
Do you say what? Do you say thank you to? Oh, it's if you've not seen the meme, F you, Tony. Sorry. So we've got one from Stephen in the audience. Can you comment on green environmental things that Brew York do? So yeah, there's a couple of little things that we've done from moving to the new site, but there's much more we want to do. The little bits. Cardboard. So our cardboard that we instead of going to waste on site, we have our own little cardboard shredder machine that becomes our packaging ingredients in our shipping boxes. So previously we used to buy like bubble wrap and all those type of things to put into our shipping boxes. Now we make it on site from waste cardboard. Our cans, all the can waste used to go in our general waste. We've now found a local recycling company in Merton near us who basically take all our aluminium cans and basically, well, this isn't the reason we did it, but they actually pay us for them now instead of us paying for them to be taken away. But it's obviously being recycled properly rather than what we used to do, which just goes into the waste with the other stuff. We stopped using as much as we could. We stopped using plastic kegs, so we do still use them for export because we can't send the steel kegs abroad, but we switched our keg production from predominantly plastic one-use kegs to steel kegs that are basically used, cleaned and refilled. And then we've got a few things in a few irons in the work.
Yeah, the bigger activities take time to deliver. So we've spoken to a solar company, and if we'll part with the mere sum of £150,000, we can get solar panels put on our roofs and we can replace 1/3 of our electric consumption, which makes a lot of sense. Longer term we'll do it, but right now we have better uses of that kind of money. But literally just today I've also had a conversation with a new startup where they're installing shipping containers that they bring to your site, and it's an effluent redevelopment plant. So they take your hops, they take your grain, and they turn it through anaerobic digestion using bacteria into gas. So they reckon earliest would be 9 months to have something like that installed. Probably going to be more like 12 months, I think, before we could feasibly have something like that on site. And that would take some of our stuff that we are paying Yorkshire Water, whoever else, to process, rather than us just paying them a fee that we get nothing from. We'll process it ourselves. It gives us something back, and then we're doing our bit. Yeah, so it's a big focus for us. But when you're a startup and you're just focused on growth and things are coming at you so fast, it's not been a focus till this point. But we are aware of our impact on the environment now, and it's important to us that we try and minimise that as best we can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you work with farmers?
Yeah. Oh yes.
All of our spent grain currently goes to two different selections of farmers.
Yeah. That's a big thing, isn't it? And do you do CO2 capture as well?
But we don't do CO2 capture at the minute because the investment, the capital investment required in that is something that will be associated with a larger brewery. We don't have the money to do that on our scale.
So we've got quite a few more questions, and we will come to them. But we've got one more upcoming section to talk about, which is what's upcoming.
Oh, great segue, man! Great segue. I see what you did there. Seamless.
Yeah.
It's like the one show.
Yeah.
Like the one. We're better than the one show. Take that back.
So the first two, the first two prompts on what we're doing next aren't actually correct. So we're going to have to improvise. So we're not actually doing that one. We're doing a beer that's actually called Son of a Peacher Man. So Son of a Peach Man's coming up, which is a 4.4% peach.
Peach and raspberry.
Peach and raspberry
Peach Melba, peach and raspberry. Yeah.
So I'm quite excited about that. We've got we've got a few different things. We discontinued a few of our beers earlier this year. We're kind of getting cravings for some of those beers back. So
apparently not just us. Yourselves are contacting us saying, when's Goose Willis coming back? When am I going to see Time Travelling Taxi again? Where's Big Eagle? So we're getting a lot of that, and we're like, we're now starting to succumb. We're now thinking maybe we just do maybe just one-off batches this year of that.
So Time Travelling Taxi is coming back very, very soon. So that'll be packaged in a couple of weeks' time. Time Travelling Taxi, I think, is one of my favourite beers we do. It just didn't sell as quickly as some of the others. So it's coming back, and hopefully you guys buy it quicker than last time. But if you don't, I don't mind. But as long as I buy the beers, it's fine. So the other one that I'm pretty excited about, which I don't know how much we've told you about in previous sessions, I can't quite remember, but Kirsch Russell's back. But Kirsch Russell Kirsch Russell Escape from LA instead of Escape from Brew York. It's Escape from LA this time. So Escape from LA is going to be a variant on the original. So it's the cherry version of the beer, but we've gone with a maple twist. And if you don't like maple, which I'm hoping you all love maple, but if you don't like maple, we're actually still going to do the original as well. So we're going to bring 2 versions out at the same time. We're going to have Kirsch Russell coming back and then Kirsch Russell Escape from LA. So both of the variants coming out at the same time. The beer that we've been waiting for patiently, and we were hoping it was going to come out next week, but it's been quite a challenging beer to brew and to package, but it is coming for the next subs box, is our collab with Damien from Emperor's. So Emperor's Tonkoko is coming in I think it's in tank, it's going to be packaged in about 2 weeks time, but it'll be in time for your next subs box. So our 15% plum and something version of Tonkoko. I like to call it the Granny's Tonkoko because it's got like all the fig and plum and those type of flavours that when you go to see. Yeah, it'll be in the subs box. We've got some pretty cool stuff, and then we've also got a few different pale variants we're working on. We've got 2 collabs in the next month's box as well. So we've been somewhere recently. We might have mentioned it once already in the stream, but we've been in Reading last week. So both of the brews we've done last week are going to be featuring the next month's subs box. So we're going to buy in some Elusive and some Siren beers. Do you want to tell them about those beers?
Yeah, no, I think we should. So, like we were saying earlier, sometimes you just got to brew what's true to you. You've got to brew what you want to drink. So when we went to Andy at Elusive, his best-selling beer, and I would say the best West Coast beer you're going to get in the UK right now, is a beer called Oregon Trail. And we used to do Big Eagle. Big Eagle that won a couple of years ago UK's best IPA, and that was our West Coast. So we've done a mashup of those 2 styles. We've met in the middle point of the ABVs. We've kind of taken his approach to a grain design, and we've taken our hops, and then we've used our hops in the way that he would have used his hops. So this one's a true collab. It's a true fusion of the 2 styles. So I'm super excited to see how this beer is going to be. I think it's going to be incredible. And then I think almost just to annoy Andy, we then went over to Siren and we made a black IPA. And the reason I say that is Andy is the UK's biggest advocate of the black IPA. So to the point that he constantly tries to trend on Twitter, hashtag BIPA comeback, black IPA comeback. So he's obsessed with this style. So I think we were just trying to annoy him by going across to Siren and then brewing a black IPA with them. But yeah, it was so obvious to do the West Coast with him.
But 2 awesome beers to put in the subs box along with what the tasting beers, and then just to treat you because we love you. There's a beer coming out next week. I don't know if we told anyone about it yet. I don't think we have. It's our latest State of Mind beer. So if you're in the subs box, you are getting 1 in your box. So State of Mind, the new beer is Dradis, which is Lee's favourite sci-fi reference we've ever done.
Yeah, I have some daft references at times, and this was definitely one of them. So I love Battlestar Galactica, and the kind of radar equivalent they have on Battlestar Galactica is the Dradis system. So we did this beer a while back. I thought the can art was really good. It demonstrated the ship with the kind of radar system thing going on. We then subsequently aged that in 2 different types of barrel. One was a bourbon, the Buffalo Trace, and then one was rye. Rye is the one we're most intrigued to see the results of, and one that we're most pleased to see the results of, and that's what you get in your box next month.
So next week we've got 2 different versions coming out on the web store. We've got the rye version and the bourbon version. Obviously, by all means, buy them and try them for yourself. But you've got the rye one coming up in this subscriber box. So maybe 1 to keep, 1 to drink.
Yeah.
Oh, share, yeah, exactly. So yeah, really cool box next month.
Share? It's only $3.30.
You mean the singer, Share?
2 boxes.
Yeah, so one of the problems we had is what do we do on our tasting? Because we can't do the State of Mind beer and Emperors at the same one. So we've toyed and toyed, but we're going to do the Emperors on the tasting. The State of Mind we think is probably better one that you'd share amongst your friends. Or
So my
drink-
solution was let's
drink
do
them all.
5.
Yeah.
To which Wayne reminded me, you do know we're in Leeds and we're only doing this in an hour. To which I said, let's do 5.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing the 4 on the tasting, but yeah, we might.
Can.
Yeah, exactly. We might drink the 5th after the tasting.
That's what Alice
finish.
in my HR did. He said, you could share. Yeah, well, I'm from Yorkshire. Kind of don't do that.
Sharing's caring and all that. So yeah, a lot coming up event-wise. We've talked quite a lot about the different things. So next week we're at Copenhagen. We're doing the collab with War Pigs. We're then the next day we're pouring at Brewskeville. The wider team are then heading down to London Craft Beer Festival, and again we've talked about the beers that are coming up there. So some really cool events coming up just next week, and then further afield. Pretty excited about these ones.
I'm doing that. That's your link.
That's my link.
So,
yeah.
weekend of 19th to the 21st of August, we're going to be at Peakender. Peakender is Thornbridge Festival held in Bakewell every year. It's a camping festival. They have live music, lots of great beer. Wayne's been for a few years running.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
This is the first time I will have attended. I think this is the first time we attend as a pouring brewery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you are going, we've got a relatively early slot, but on the Friday at 4 p.m. we're going to do our tasting. I don't know what beers we're doing yet. I haven't decided that far in advance, but we've got one of the big tents. I think you can fit about 60 people in there. So we're doing a free tasting event. If anyone's going, come along. Drink
Probably going to be barrel aged, isn't it?
probably for 60 people.
First 2 tickets sold. There you go.
But yeah, that's going to be really cool and a good way to kick off the Friday. The rest of the festival, it's just such a relaxing, chilled out festival. Music, food, beer, and camping. So thankfully, a few more showers than the last time we camped at a festival.
And the final one is a festival that our new commercial director's lined up.
Yeah, Mark's got us a festival in Nottingham called
Arboretum.
Arboretum Beer Festival. So our beer's on at that festival.
Which is 26th to the 27th of August. Right. So we're almost there, guys. I think we do a few more questions before closing remarks. So, tap takeover suggestions. Have we done this one yet?
No.
Trembling Madness. I think we might have done that one before. So that's in York. New Bristol Brewery. Unity in Southampton. 2x2 in Newcastle. And the Full Circle Bar.
So
Newcastle.
So some cool venues suggested there. So New Bristol Brewery, really cool brewery who we'd like to work with. They came to contact us last year at a festival in Bristol, and something came up and they couldn't come and see us. But yeah, love to follow up and do some more stuff there.
So this one, when we were in Reading and we launched this beer, Tiramoosu Tonkoko, there's a guy there that said this aroma's amazing. You should turn it into a candle. And I didn't catch the guy's name, but now we've got this question coming. Would you make a Tonkoko candle? Chris?
I've been saying that for months.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Pete, that's fallen on deaf ears as far as I'm concerned. But
So when
This
you're
is-
sat in the bath, you can have a nice candle lit.
I just find it incredible that twice in a week I've been asked to turn Tonkoko into a candle.
So Matt would like us to make an Irish cream Tonkoko. So
Well, that would
it's like a
work.
Bailey's
That
version of
would work.
Tonkoko. Could be pretty good. We
Right.
need to find someone who can do that. Oh,
Well-
that's a good shout.
Whiskey and cream and Tonkoko. I mean, what could go wrong?
So Dan's also had a really good shout. Biscoff Tonkoko. I love Biscoff. That'd be an
No,
awesome
I
one.
kind of do, but everybody's putting Biscoff in everything right now.
There's a reason, because it's awesome.
Yeah, maybe we let all that die down and then we do it. In the same way that we've not made a mild recently, because we don't just jump on the bandwagon.
So Craig's not got a question. He just wants to say, I love you guys.
Oh, thank you, Craig. Hey, you guys. Tap takeover suggestions: the Marquis.
Marquez.
How do you pronounce that? Chowing Cross. That's Stephen once again. And the last one we have: what beer that you haven't brewed for a long time would you like to bring back? He would love to see Chocolate Orange or Skoda War. Okay, question in the room. beer that we've not done in a while. What would you like to see bring back?
Starting with
Renegades of Funk. Nice.
Ex-Parrot.
Ex-Parrot's a very good shout. So we've got one of our sour IPAs. We've got a fruited pale.
Time travelling taxi.
Time travelling taxi.
I've got you covered.
You're covered. You don't have to wait too much longer.
And what would you like?
New, but with our new way of doing pales really well.
Haha. So New England IPA, Nuba, but the way we do it better now.
Or a really well pale, how we do it.
Or
it's bloody Juice Campbell.
Juice
Campbell. So Juice Campbell, we tend to bring back for Halloween. Decent chance we might do that again this year.
Let's see. Magni. What about Magni? Do you remember that one? First ever Imperial Stout we ever did.
Imperial
Porter. Sorry.
Imperial Porter.
Viking DNA. Bring Viking DNA back.
Yeah. The 2 years ago fairy tale.
2 years ago.
Which one was that one? The walnut one.
No. This was the peanut and peanut pecan caramel Tonka.
Amplified DNA.
Amplified
That's
DNA?
Magni, honestly. If you ever try Magni, it was like the amped up version of Viking DNA. It was really good. Yeah. It was a very, very short run of a long time ago, but it was a really cool beer. What about rhubarb Streisand extra custard? Everyone in the audience said, oh, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking maybe no, but yeah.
How about an Imperial juice Forsyth?
Yes.
Right.
Imperial Forsyth.
Yes.
What are we going to call it? Good game? Good game?
Hey, I've got a bloke that can be on the can.
A shout's just come in from the audience. The original Bruce Forsyth has just said, how about an Imperial version of Juice Forsyth? Funnily enough, I've just started to look at how we could take some of our existing beers and morph them. And right top of my list is an amplified version of Juice Forsyth. So yeah, that thing needs to exist.
And just said good guile, good guile.
Right, for those off camera, Ant has just done this off camera. But I would say that is warranted because that is a genius idea. My working title was Juiced Forsyth, but good gal is so much better than that. So I think that needs to be the name. Yeah.
So it's 5 minutes past, so we need to wrap up. We've done those two.
So last few bits to do. So just to remind you all, we have opened our new tap room at Oswald. I know it's not the most accessible of places, but we have that now open Fridays from 4 till 10.
Yeah, and Saturdays 12 till 10. Food vendors, I mentioned it earlier. If you've got any food vendors you'd like to see serving there, ping us a message, we'll contact them. We've got the York Pork Pie Company this weekend. Yuzu are actually heading up next weekend for their first venture out there. I don't know any weekends after that because it's been John and Alison sorting them out, and we've been away. So 2 weekends we've got the food vendors. Oh no, the pizza I think is the one.
But for us to know something 2 weeks ahead of it happening is quite good, really, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm so pleased with it. It's just such a chilled out environment, and I think we've managed to kind of. If you ever came to see us when we first opened 6 years ago, it's kind of that same vibe in Oswaldwick. So chilled out, relaxed. Drink some beers.
We're really thrilled with the support it's been given so far. It's different to everything else that we have to offer. In time, we'll be doing brewery tours from there, where you'll be able to see the new fantastic steel that we've got over that way right now. But for now, it's just a real nice chilled experience with some cool street food.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, if you come into York, the Brewers Yard, doing awesome. We've got so much outdoor space now. Hopefully, if the weather stays good, kind of like it is now, we can use that space even more for the next few months. So that's pretty cool.
Before we go off camera, Kerry's just said thank you once again. You are more than welcome. We were really thrilled to be able to do that for you. Yeah. So you've done the Brewers Yard. So next month, as we've said, it's going to be a shortened session. Apologies, we're going to have to cram it in. We're going to try and do it in an hour. It's going to be at Leeds Craft Beer Leeds International Beer Festival
at Kirkstall Abbey.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really cool, and we want to as many of you guys, if you're interested in coming along, we'll get the competition going. During the competition, we'll have I suspect we'll have at least a dozen tickets to give out, and if we don't, then we'll buy the tickets and we'll give them to you to join us as well. So it's going to be awesome. The festival's going to be cool. The way they've got it set up, we're really privileged. We got to see it way before anyone else, and we've got an awesome vault. There's a live music stage in the middle of the Abbey, which is just amazing, and we've got the vault next to it. It's so cool, and I can't wait to go and set the festival up and you guys to come along and join us, and then we're going to do the tasting. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, there are beer festivals, then there are beer festivals, but my favourite has always been Leeds. I know this is a new venue. It's not the City Hall anymore, it's going to be Kirkstall Abbey. But for me, it's the most unpretentious of all beer festivals. This is the Yorkshireman's Beer Festival, where we don't have to deal with small, silly paws. We can still go and buy pints if we want to buy them. And it's more about the sociability of it. It's about grabbing a beer, grabbing your mate, having a natter. It's not about queuing for fucking silly hype beer. So,
and you can jump on a train and you can actually just get to Headingley Station, and then it's a short walk from Headingley Station. So it's still pretty accessible considering they've moved it out. So.
2.5 miles. I'll run it.
Is that but no, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're going to do a pretty cool setup for it.
Anyway, once again, that's been a fantastic session. Before we all go, can we once again wish Kerry a happy birthday?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, guys. Thank you for joining us earlier.
Yeah, and thanks.
Amazing once again. If you have any feedback, and I'm going to do this right this time, get your email into info@brewyork.co.uk. We will see you next time.
Thanks a lot,
for
guys.
joining us.
Cheers.